What is up, YouTube? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day, and if you are, it would greatly make my day if you went down and smashed that like button, because it truly does help the channel out a ton. You have no idea how big that is for me, especially when I'm such a small content creator. So the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want people to know that it's not just you pick a stock and then you forget about it. Some people invest that way, but not with me. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to tell you the news. I'm going to change my mind on stocks as we go through time. So that's why it's so important to hit the subscribe button, because if you take my information and use it to purchase a stock, my information might change or new information might emerge that may change my outlook on a specific company. So that's why it's always good to do multiple researches when it comes to a company, and make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Now, with all that being said, let's get into the video. So in traditional damier money fashion, we know we can't talk about the financials of any company without putting on the proper uniform. So let's get into it. Top of the morning. I'm just messing around. Now that we're in the proper uniform, we can kind of talk about the financials a lot more. So whenever you're evaluating a growth stock or a stock, a brand new stock in general, it's always good to compare it to other companies that you find in a similar space or have a similar kind of business model. Sometimes that can be tricky if you're dealing with a stock that doesn't have many other publicly traded companies that are similar to it. But in our case, OSTK has a ton of companies to choose from. So I chose 4 other companies to compare this to. I chose Spotify, Wayfair, Amazon, and Walmart. I'm gonna highlight what's good about OSTK and maybe what's good about the other ones as well, but why I'm specifically investing in Overstock. There are tons of metrics you could use to determine the valuation of a company. I always use the PE, the PEG ratio, price to sales, price to book. I always look at market cap because that does influence what I'm gonna do with the company a little bit. So this is one of the companies that is on the list because it was, I've done a ton of research into this company before, and when I decided to add the black representation to my current portfolio, if I would have just kept it to a C, which is where I want companies that I put new money towards, I would have basically had like no stocks left in my portfolio and been completely into cash. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay invested. So anything that had at least some representation. So that's why you see Overstock has a D here in the black representation. I didn't look into Spotify or Wayfair because I was just using them to compare to. And I know a lot of people want to invest in Amazon and Walmart, so I put those on there as well, just because I do know that there are a ton of people that invest in those companies. So as you see along the top 2 lines, the PE ratio and the PEG ratio pretty much are non-existent for most of these companies. Even when it comes to the PE of Amazon, you're seeing 138. So all these companies are going to have high PEs. Overstock, Shopify, and Wayfair really don't have earnings yet. Because they're still growth companies, where Amazon at least has earnings. And then when you look at the PEG ratio, Amazon and Walmart are fairly close to the same PEG ratio. But price to sales is where we get into some real numbers for the first time. Overstock's at 0.85, Shopify's at 68.2, Wayfair's at 2.09, Amazon's at 4.93, and Walmart's at 0.64. Now, across the board here, when we're talking about price to sales, the big thing that you want to look at is obviously Shopify on this metric is the most overvalued. People who buy Shopify today are basically saying that it's going to earn 68 times what it's earning this whole year. And they're expecting that to catch up at some point. Really, if I was looking into these companies, I'd want anything underneath a 1, maybe something above a 1, but not really over a 2. So I really wouldn't look into Wayfair either. Amazon, obviously Amazon's a different case because they do have Amazon Web Services, which has its own kind of growth ramp. So you have to remember, some of these companies don't just have one type of thing that they do. Like, everybody knows Amazon and Amazon Prime, and you can buy stuff from everything online, but a lot of people don't factor in that they also have the web services side, which is growing very rapidly and has actually accounted for most of their growth over the last 2 or 3 years. The reason why Walmart is so low is Walmart is pretty much under attack from everything. They're under attack from Amazon. They're under attack from Target. They're even under attack from small convenience stores like Walgreens. A big thing with Walmart is they have such a big grocery side of their company, which makes them more stable and more safe, but also has a lot lower margins, so they make a lot less money on that kind of stuff. This is why I always add market cap as a metric that I look into. So if you look across the board, Overstock has a $1.3 billion evaluation, where Shopify has almost a $50 billion evaluation, and Wayfair has a $20 billion evaluation. Amazon has a $1.5 trillion evaluation essentially, and Walmart has a $360 billion evaluation. So really, when you're looking at Amazon and Walmart, if you consider them the kingpins, and if you were to add Target in here, you're looking at probably a $2.5 trillion space to really be playing in. So Overstock's going to have the most potential for growth. Even if Overstock becomes valued at the same valuation as Wayfair, which they are very similar companies, they sell very similar products, we do see that Overstock has a way smaller valuation. So let's say it does become valued at $20 billion over the next 2 or 3 years. What does that mean for the current evaluation? That means if you bought the stock today, you're looking at least 20 times in your money. So if you put essentially, if you put $1 in today and it becomes evaluated $20 billion over the next 3 to 5 years, that $1 is going to turn into $20. Next, we look at the black representation thing. For me, when it comes to this stock and stocks that I've looked in prior to making the QQQ video, and actually looking into black representation a lot more, since this is a stock, it's kind of grandfathered in since I owned this before. It has some black representation and it's only one guy, but so it's not a lot of black representation, but it does have some at least. So here are some things that I've highlighted about these stocks in particular. So I'll start with all the other ones and then I'll go into Overstock and why I think Overstock is such a good price. So Walmart is a well-known brand, obviously, but it's got so much competition, so that's a negative. Amazon has Amazon Web Services, but its evaluation is $1.5 trillion. So really, how much bigger can Amazon get? Maybe you can get the first $2 trillion company. Maybe you get the first $3 trillion company, but how big does Amazon actually get? And how long does it take for them to get to those potential evaluations? You know, maybe I'll miss an amazing company that gets to $20 trillion, but I don't want to take that risk. That's never been done before. So regardless of how good of a company Amazon is, it's now, if not the biggest company, it's one of the top 3 biggest companies in the world or in the stock market. I don't want to take the risks that everybody else wants to take just because they think that it's going to be a $100 trillion company or whatever their reason for investing in Amazon is. Wayfair, they have a strong brand, but that's really all they have. I know they're normally the go-to if you're looking into remodeling and you want to buy furniture online, you want to look at Wayfair. Even my wife recently, when we were talking about buying new furniture for our little apartment, she was talking about, well, let's also look at Overstock, which made me make this connection even stronger. Like, well, if my wife is already looking there, then that means other wives are doing it, you know? That's at least my mindset, is what's happening around me that makes me want to think about a company more. I don't normally go to Shopify. I know that the partnership with Facebook could be huge and you could see a ton of growth from that, but the evaluation right now in its current market cap at $50 billion is so crazy to me that I'm just gonna step away. When a company's almost $50 billion, it's bigger than Boeing. And Boeing's been around forever and is a stable company. It's bigger than Walgreens. It's bigger than a lot of normal companies. So that's a huge company in perspective of everything else. Now, Overstock, the real thing is the potential for growth in the cryptocurrency space. So this is a thing that a lot of people that don't know about Overstock.com don't know. And this is why the stock has really been moving so crazily over the last couple of days. They created a company or own a company called T0. T0 is a cryptocurrency trading platform. Obviously, everybody knows a little bit about Bitcoin, but there's tons of cryptocurrencies out there that you can trade. So I watched an interview of the CEO of Overstock talk about cryptocurrency in 2011 or 2012 it was. He was talking about cryptocurrency on a level that people nowadays don't even understand cryptocurrency. I really like when a CEO is a visionary and they really have a good idea of what's happening and what's going to be the next big thing. Even if cryptocurrency isn't the next big thing, the amount of knowledge that he had into blockchains and making them, and the amount of time he spent thinking about how he can make blockchains work in his company, I really think that that's a lever that other companies don't have in this space. And if cryptocurrencies do become the actual currency with everything that's happening in the world, if cryptocurrency is 1/10 or 1/20th of what experts are projecting it to be, cryptocurrency is going to be huge. So I want a company that has that kind of potential growth in it, on top of just its normal retail investing potential. So that's all the reasons why I invested into Overstock in the first place. But what am I doing now with the stock? I added money to this position and made it into a full position. I had it about a half position before when I initially put the money in. The reason I didn't buy it all initially was I expected the market to go down. I expected the virus to have more of an impact, the second wave to really start taking the market down, and that hasn't happened, and it might still happen. But I just have a lot of conviction for this company, and I feel confident that it's still the right investment to make, and over the next 3 to 5 years I'm going to see a great return. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you learned anything from this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Go down in the comments, tell me what you guys' thoughts are on the company in the video itself. And with that being said, hopefully you guys are having a great day. Peace.